I'm David Miller, 48 years old, and I have lived in Springfield, Illinois my whole life. I have always considered myself a simple man, a man who finds his greatest joy in the quiet rhythms of family life, in the comfort of familiar faces around a dinner table, in the laughter of children echoing through the house on a holiday. My world revolved around my wonderful wife Sarah, our bright son Alex, and my mother Alina, who at 84 years old was the heart and soul of our extended family. My brother Tom and his family and my sister Brenda with her sprawling brood were all part of this vibrant tapestry I held so dear. We might not have been wealthy in terms of money, but we were rich in connections, in shared history, in the unbreakable bonds of blood. I worked hard as a supervisor at the local manufacturing plant, putting in my hours, making sure I could provide for my own, but I always looked forward to the weekends, to the big family dinners at Mom's place, to the holidays filled with noise and warmth and love. My mother, Alina, she was a true gem, a woman whose sweetness was legendary, whose gentle spirit had guided us through thick and thin. She was the one who kept us all together, her home a beacon of comfort and tradition. Then about 2 years ago, something shifted, something dark and unsettling began to creep into our lives. My sister Brenda, she changed. It started subtly, a missed phone call here, a skipped family dinner there, but it quickly escalated. It was like a switch flipped inside her, transforming the Brenda I knew, the Brenda who used to laugh easily and gather her children around her with such pride, into someone almost unrecognizable. She became colder, more distant, cutting off communication with my brother Tom, with Sarah and me, and most painfully with our mother. Her 4 adult children, my nieces and nephews, were explicitly told not to have any contact with their 84-year-old grandmother, or with their cousins, or with any of us. It was a brutal, heartbreaking decree that shattered the very foundation of our family. Holiday gatherings became silent affairs, Mom's house felt empty, and the vibrant tapestry of our lives was torn to shreds. We tried to understand. Sarah and I would talk for hours late into the night, replaying every conversation, searching for a reason. Was it about money, perhaps some imagined slight or inheritance? Or was it something else entirely, a dark cloud like a brain tumor, as Sarah once suggested, obscuring her judgment and turning her against us? The uncertainty was a constant ache, but the pain of losing our sister and seeing Mom so heartbroken was far worse. My sweet mother, who had always been the glue, now sat alone, her gentle eyes clouded with confusion and sorrow, longing for the children and grandchildren she was forbidden to see. I wasn't the kind of man to just sit back and watch my family crumble. I tried to fix it. I called Brenda over and over again, leaving heartfelt messages pleading for her to just talk to me, to explain what was happening. I sent her texts, long ones filled with memories of our childhood, reminding her of the love we shared, of the importance of family. I even drove over to her house one Saturday morning, unannounced, desperate to have a face-to-face conversation, to break through whatever wall she had erected around herself. Each attempt was met with the same crushing silence, or worse, cold hostility. She would sometimes pick up the phone, only to unleash a torrent of accusations, baseless claims that Sarah and I were trying to manipulate Mom, or that we were talking behind her back, things that were utterly untrue. My attempts to reason with her, to bring her back to reality, felt like talking to a brick wall. The more I tried, the more she pushed back, her words like daggers, tearing at the remaining threads of our relationship. The situation didn't just stay stagnant, it actively got worse. Brenda started subtly spreading rumors within the wider family, whispers that were designed to paint Sarah and me in a negative light, to isolate us further. She doubled down on her restrictions for her children, ensuring they had no opportunity whatsoever to reach out to Mom or to us. Holidays, once the brightest spots on our calendar, became agonizing reminders of what we had lost. That year, Thanksgiving was just me, Sarah, Alex, and Mom, the table painfully small, the laughter conspicuously absent. Mom tried to put on a brave face, but I could see the sadness etched around her eyes, the way her hands trembled as she carved the turkey, a task she usually performed with such joyful ceremony for a crowd. Then came Christmas, and it was even worse. The magic was gone. I felt utterly helpless, the weight of our broken family pressing down on me. I saw my mother, once so vibrant and full of life, start to shrink, her spirit dimming. Her health even seemed to decline, the constant stress and heartbreak taking a physical toll. I had a particularly brutal confrontation with Brenda over the phone just before Easter. I had called to suggest a neutral meeting, perhaps at a park, just to talk. She screamed at me, her voice venomous, accusing me of trying to undermine her, of being a traitor. She told me to never call her again, that she had no brother, no mother, and no use for any of us. Hanging up that phone, I felt a deep, chilling despair settle over me. It wasn't just anger, it was a profound sense of loss, a realization that the Brenda I knew, the sister I loved, was truly gone. I couldn't fix it. I had failed. Our family, my beautiful, loving family, was permanently broken, and I felt a crushing guilt for not being able to mend the pieces. Mom deserved so much better than this. My mother, Alina, she was 84, and despite her recent heartache, she was still sharp as a tack. She always had a way of seeing things clearly, even when we, her children, were bogged down in our own emotions. One crisp autumn afternoon, she called me over to her house. The air was cool, the leaves were turning golden, but the atmosphere inside felt heavy. She sat me down at her kitchen table, the same table where countless family dinners had been shared, where she had helped me with my homework as a boy. She looked at me, her gaze steady and full of a quiet resolve. "David," she began, her voice a little softer than usual, "I've been doing a lot of thinking. I'm not getting any younger, and I want to make sure my affairs are in order, that everyone is taken care of." She explained that she had decided to distribute a significant lump sum of money she had saved over the years, a nest egg she intended for her children and grandchildren. She wanted to do it now, while she was still lucid and in charge, rather than leave it for after she was gone, hoping it would ease any potential burdens or worries for us. She had already spoken to her lawyer, she told me, and had everything drawn up. She pulled out a stack of envelopes, each containing a check, her handwriting neat and precise on the front. "He decided," she explained, "to divide the main sum into shares for each of my children's families, and then within each family that share will be distributed among the immediate members." She explained the logic, a fair split among her direct descendants and their closest dependents. My heart ached as she spoke because I knew what this meant. Sarah and I, we only had our one son, Alex. So our family unit for the purpose of this distribution was just the three of us. My brother Tom had his wife, his 3 children, and even 1 grandchild, making his family unit a group of 6 people. And then there was Brenda. Brenda, with her 4 adult children, 3 grandchildren, and all their spouses in the mix, accounted for a substantial 11 people in her family unit. My mother, in her sweet, unassuming way, was simply trying to be fair, to ensure each of her direct children received a portion for their family. She didn't realize the powerful, almost poetic consequence of her method. She handed me our envelope, her fingers brushing mine. I thanked her, my voice thick with emotion, but I felt a strange mix of sadness for the situation and a burgeoning sense of something else, something almost like satisfaction, building within me. The day the checks were officially distributed was not a grand affair. It was quiet, understated, just like Mom preferred. She had sent them through the mail, wanting to avoid any potential drama or confrontation. A few days later, my phone rang. It was Tom, my brother, his voice a mix of disbelief and a strange, dark amusement. "You're not going to believe this, David," he said, a hint of a chuckle in his tone. "Brenda's gone absolutely ballistic." He had just spoken to her, or rather, had listened to her rant. She had done the math, just as my mother intended for everyone to do, and the numbers had slammed into her like a freight train. She had received a large check, yes, but when she divided that lump sum by the 11 individuals in her family unit, her 4 adult children, their spouses, and her 3 grandchildren, the individual amount per person was significantly smaller. Meanwhile, Sarah, Alex, and I, being a family unit of 3, had received a check that, when divided by 3, meant each of us personally got almost 3 times what Brenda's individual share amounted to. The irony was devastatingly perfect. Brenda, who had always been so consumed by perceived slights and potential financial gains, who had torn our family apart seemingly over greed, had inadvertently shot herself in the foot. Tom described her rage, her shrieking about how unfair it was, how Mom was playing favorites, how it was all a conspiracy. He just let her scream, then calmly pointed out that Mom had simply divided the money by her direct children, and then each child was to distribute within their own family. It was a fair, if mathematically ironic, distribution. I could almost hear the gears grinding in Brenda's mind, the realization that her calculated isolation, her deliberate estrangement, had ultimately backfired in a way she could never have foreseen. She had sacrificed our family bonds, the warmth of shared love, all for what she thought would be a greater personal gain, and instead she had ended up with less, individually, than the very people she had targeted. It was an accidental revenge, a justice delivered not by my hand, but by my mother's simple, loving intent. The money, while a welcome cushion, didn't magically mend the deep fissures Brenda had created in our family. It couldn't bring back the lost holidays or erase the pain in Mom's eyes, but it brought a different kind of peace. For me, it was the satisfaction of a cosmic balancing act. I used a portion of our share to take Mom on a short, beautiful trip to the coast, something she had always dreamed of but never done. We walked along the beach, ate fresh seafood, and truly talked for hours. It was a chance for her to heal, to find joy again, and for me to reconnect with her on an even deeper level. My son Alex used his portion to put a down payment on a reliable used car, which was a huge help for his college commute. Sarah and I put the rest into our savings, a silent testament to our resilience. Brenda's reaction didn't stop there. In her fury, she made the catastrophic mistake of publicly ranting about the unfairness of the distribution on social media, complaining bitterly about our mother and my brother Tom and me. Her tirade, however, had an unintended effect. It exposed her true motivations to a wider audience, including some of her own children, who had until then been blindly following her instructions. One afternoon, my phone rang, and it was my niece, Brenda's oldest daughter, Jessica. Her voice was hesitant, almost a whisper. She apologized, her words laced with shame, telling me how awful she felt about everything, how she had just seen her mother's post and finally understood. She asked if she could visit Grandma Aliner. I told her the door was always open. That weekend, Jessica came to Mom's house, bringing with her two of her siblings. It was a tentative reunion filled with tears and hugs and quiet conversations, but it was a start. The financial consequence hadn't healed Brenda, but her own rage had inadvertently begun to chip away at the wall she had built, allowing a small, hopeful ray of light back into our mother's life. The family wasn't fully mended, not yet, but a seed of hope had been planted, growing from the most unexpected soil.